Hi, thank you very much for joining us today for the webinar on how to use cloud accounting to create real-time reports and dashboards. My name is Rayhan Aleem. I am the founder and managing partner of an accounting firm called Optical Partners. We have offices in Dubai and London, and we are Xero Platinum Partners. I'll be joined by Barrett, who is the principal consultant for data and analytics. I think Barrett can be the best person to talk about Citrus for a few minutes.
Sure. Hi guys, this is Bharat. I am working as a principal consultant and data analytics for Citrus Consulting. So just a short introduction about Citrus Consulting. So Citrus Consulting was founded by Mr. Dan Sutamram around 3 years ago, and we are a subsidiary with Reddington. And Reddington, as you might be aware of, is largest value-added distributor in GCC and Africa region. So we are helping customers and partners in doing the implementation of different softwares and hardwares across GCC and Africa region. Yep.
Thank you very much, Barrett. So the topics we're going to cover today is I'll talk about Xero. Obviously, Xero is an accounting, cloud accounting software. And the things I talk about doesn't just mean it's just Xero. It could be other cloud accounting softwares as well. And I will mention some of the things that makes your processes in terms of accounting a lot quicker to allow you to achieve real-time accounting. And then Barrett will go more into the PowerBI and how you can integrate not just Xero or a cloud accounting software, but other softwares as well, so you can have your own dashboard. One of the things that is quite useful for some of my clients is the fact that you can, if you've got multiple Xero licenses, you can see a holistic profit and loss and balance sheet, and Barrett will go into that later on in this session. I will start off with HotDog. So HotDog is when you're entering invoices and receipts, one of the things that people do is they manually enter it into the system, and they don't keep, PDF copies or receipts. So one of the things that we do is we use a software called HotDog. HotDog is also owned by Xero, but it can also be used by other accounting softwares as well. So what it does is you will have a mobile app, or you have your own dedicated email address. And so what you're able to do is you're able to take pictures of your receipts and invoices. And if you're receiving invoices via email, you can forward it on to HotDog, which will then organize the receipts based on names. It also integrates with Google Drive. So if you, for example, wanted to save some of your documents in Google Drive as well, it will do that for you automatically. So in this example, we have a GoDaddy receipt. So as I mentioned, you'll have your mobile app, or you'll have your designated email address. You forward your receipts, your invoices to that email address, or you take pictures on your phone, and then it will come to HotDog. What HotDog does now is it uses optical character recognition to then take some of the information from the invoice to be then pre-populated. So here you can see the supplier GoDaddy has been extracted, the invoice number has been extracted, and the date. And then you can see the currency, the amount, and the tax rate. And then you have destinations. Now, destination doesn't have to be Xero. It could be the other accounting softwares that are compatible with HotDog, and the others are Sage and QuickBooks as well. So what it does here is you would then enter the information that you want to then this document to then be extracted into Xero. Now, one of the things you want to just keep in mind is as soon as you've done this one type of invoice once, HotDog uses machine learning to then remember how you would have coded it the previous times, and then it will automatically pre-populate it. So I'm going to do a working example now. So I'm going to show you how quickly this then goes into Xero. So I'm going to give it a due date. So let's put today's date, for example. I'm then going to put the status as authorized. The contact is going to be Go Daddy. And remember, once you've done this for the first time, it will then remember this the second time. Website subscription. And then I'm going to select Publish. As soon as I select Publish, you can see here the two. So now it's gone into Xero. So if I go into Xero now of this dummy account, if I select Refresh, here you can see it's come straight away, instantaneously. So if I click onto that bill, you can see here that it's taken the description that I've just entered, website subscription. It's got the from, it's got the date, the due date, today's date. Remember, we wrote that down there. It's got the tax rate, and then it's got the amount. And here you can also see the file as well. So the good thing about this is when you're reviewing accounts and when you're providing real-time reports to management or to the business owner, if they want to drill down, they can actually go down to the actual receipt. So that's the thing that is quite good with that. Don't forget, we'll be taking questions at the end, so just feel free to jot them down and put them in the message, and then we'll take them once Barrett has finished his talk. Few more features I just want to highlight to you in terms of Xero. So obviously, when it comes to invoicing, it's very, very easy. So for example, if you wanted to create a new invoice, you can simply enter the information here. So let's say I'm invoicing myself. You can enter a date, a due date, a reference, a description, quantity, unit price, and you can see here that it's already pre-populated the sales account because it's an invoice. Once I select approve, what I then can do is I can email it straight away to my customer. I can convert it to PDF, and I can also attach documents as you saw previously. Another feature I want to also highlight is producing statement of accounts is quite easy. If you select send statement, and I choose, let's say, Hamilton Smith, I can either email it from Xero directly, or I can download the PDF. I can view it here, and then I can send it directly to my client. This template can be edited just for your information. And then the last thing I wanted to show you about invoicing was the other feature that you can do is you can send invoice reminders. So for example, obviously in this region, certain industries find it difficult to get paid. There's certain things you should follow in terms of making sure you get paid on time. One of the things that Xero can do that can save you a lot of time is it can send email reminders to your customers. So for example, if you've got an invoice that's overdue by 7 days, it will send this automated email to your customers just to remind them that a payment is due. And you can also set it so you can remind them when it's due in 7 days. So for example, if you've got an invoice that's due after 30 days, after say 21 days after the date of the invoice, it will send them a reminder to say, look, by the way, your invoice is due for payment within a certain amount of time. So that will save you a lot of time from that point of view. I also want to touch upon bank reconciliation. So obviously, the theme of this webinar is how to get real-time reporting. Now, when it comes to accounts, the reason why many accountants have to report at the end of the month is because there's a number of processes that they need to do before they can present a P&L and balance sheet to the management and to the business owners. Now, one of those processes is your bank reconciliation. If your bank isn't reconciled, your financial statements are not yet correct. So one of the things, when Xero first came out a few years ago, one of the things that they did was they looked at their bank reconciliation process and looked at ways to make it easier and better and quicker. In many regions, bank statements automatically go into Xero. In the UAE at the moment, it's only RAK Bank that has that feature, and I believe we may have MSMBD later on down the line. But what you can see here is this is your bank statement, and this is effectively your journals. Now, as soon as you've uploaded your bank statement, if there are transactions that are matching the statement, then it will automatically suggest a transaction. So, for example, in this situation, you've got Ridgeway University that has invoice number 25 here as a payment reference. Now, the amount is 618750, and here we've got an invoice for 618750, which is invoice number 025. If I bring some context into this webinar, I'll show you where that invoice is. So if we go to search for 25, for example, we can see here Ridgeway University is awaiting payment. So this is an invoice that was issued on the 5th of Jan, and here you can see it's awaiting payment. Now, I'm also going to open up the accounts receivable report as well. So on our accounts receivable, and the reason why I'm doing this is so I can show you how once you reconcile a transaction in the bank, the reports are automatically updated. So I'm just waiting for it to load. So on this accounts receivable summary, we can see that on the accounts receivable, Ridgeway University 618750 is outstanding. Now, if we go back to the bank, if I reconcile this amount, and then if I refresh this report, this 618750 should then be cleared because it's been reconciled with a payment. Drum roll. Oops, something went wrong. Let's just refresh it again. So there you go. It's gone. That 618750 has gone. So as soon as you post a transaction in Xero, the reports are automatically updated. I'm just now going to quickly touch upon a few other reports that we have within Xero, and then I'll then pass over to Barrett, because I know we're overrunning now. So there's a number of reports available in Xero. One of the things I wanted to emphasize is the fact that every report in Xero you can download as a PDF and as Excel as well. So here you can export as PDF and in Excel and as Google Sheets. There is some adjustments you can do within the format, but the other key thing you can do is you can run the report whenever you want. So let's say you wanted to run a report for this financial year. The information is up to date as and when you've entered the data. Now, you can then drill down. So let's say, for example, I wanted to know what is my breakdown of advertising. I can click this button, and then it will show me the transactions of the advertising account. I can then drill down again. So this is a payable invoice, and then I can see the actual invoice here. And then if, for example, I attach the document, I can see the document there as well. So within cloud accounting, within cloud accounting packages, you have the ability to enter information and have the reports on those information instantaneously. And obviously now with the help of softwares like HotDog, you can attach the actual documents, and then once you're doing a drill down, you can see the actual documents without having to refer to an email or any other type of information saved in another drive. That's all for me for Xero. I want to leave enough time for Q&A. So once Barrett has completed his presentation, go to Q&A, and if you have any other questions, we'll answer them as well. So thank you very much from me. I will now pass over to Barrett, who will now talk more about BI and how we can get the dashboards and reporting.
Thank you, Rehan. Thanks a lot for such a detailed introduction about Xero and capabilities. So, hi guys. So I'll take it forward from where Rehan left. So as Rehan just walked us about the Xero capabilities, so I'll just further add on that Xero is really good at doing the rule-based accounting, and in turn giving us structured and standardized reports for financial review that each and every company is looking forward to at the end of the month. However, we can take this to one step further and exporting this data that Xero is generating and use it for further analysis and also implement any exceptions that different businesses have and which might not be captured in the standardized reports while creating the data or fetching the data from Xero. So this is where we can make best use of Xero APIs. So Xero has a really strong developer community and they have done a really good job at exposing this data to end customers using the APIs. So I'll just walk you through how the Xero APIs can be used for exporting the data and using it further for integrating it with any other BI tools or any other tool for analyzing that data sets that Xero is generating on a monthly basis or a daily basis. So as you see right now on the screen is a Xero developer community, and what they have done is they have created different APIs for all the reports available in Xero, be it journals, be it ledgers, or be it P&Ls or balance sheets or any bank statement or bank transactions at a contact level or at a
Приезжайте
invoice
сюда
level
после приема.
or at an expense level. So all these reports are available to us using Xero community, and they have really explained in detail how you can and access these reports using the URL, and they have also given us the methods of input, making changes in these APIs and deriving the relevant data for our purposes. So right now, I just wanted to walk you through one of the implementations that we did for one of the existing Xero customers who is into defense advisory. Though we have done a couple of successful implementations since last 1.5 years with Xero, but the latest one being this defense advisory customer, where they had four subsidiary companies under the parent company, and the challenge that they were facing was related to neutralizing the impact of the intercompany transactions. So how we help them in achieving this and improving the efficiency of reporting. So this is what I want to talk today over this webinar. So they had three companies. So to begin with, we worked with them on the three companies, and we started with P&L and balance sheet, where we used Xero APIs, and then we using the ETL pipelines, we push this data to a SQL database, and from SQL database, we push this data further to Power BI. So this can be pushed to any of the BI tools, but for this case, we use Power BI. So as you see right now on screen, the value add that we achieved from this use case was that we were able to give them a really customized view of the P&L or a balance sheet, what they were using, and they can also at the same time have an overview on the high level KPIs that any business is interested in. As you see right now on the screen, revenue, gross profit, operating expenses, EBITDA, EBIT, and net profit. And the best part of Power BI is that it gives you a really flexible environment in terms of customizing the reports or restructuring the headers or expense accounts as per the different business needs without even changing anything at the Xero end. So the added advantage here is that companies can have two different reporting, say use the Xero reporting for auditing purposes, and they can also have a more flexible customized view using a BI tool which they are using for their internal accounting purposes or internal auditing purposes. So as you see right now on the screen, if you just press on any of the headers, you can just drill down into different accounts and different transactions at a monthly level, and you can get a customized view, which is more suitable to internal business reporting needs. And so this is at a individual company where you can see company A, B, C, which has been masked because of the NDA agreements. And the final value added that customer was really impressed with, and we were able to save them about 7 to 10 days of effort in a month, was having a consolidated P&L. So they had a lot of intercompany transaction as I was talking about, related to say cost on third party approved services, which is nothing but consulting services provided from one company to another company, or having loans from one company to another company. So they had various intercompany transactions which they were doing a double accounting. But for internal reporting, they wanted to have a state P&L or a balance sheet statement where they can eliminate this impact and have a final revenue or gross profit or net profit at the end of the day. And this is where we just use Xero APIs, integrated with Power BI, eliminated those impacts based on the exceptions that we were able to create in the matrices, and automated this process. And the client was able to access this report on a live basis, and which was available to them over the web link or even on a mobile application. So the main advantage here was that instead of doing all these manual adjustments on a Excel sheet that they were doing, and which was taking them a lot of time, and pulling this data from 3 or 4 different companies in Xero, was just automated, and within click of a button they can have this live report available to them on the go. So that was the biggest advantage of using Xero and integrating with BI. And along with that, once we have the clean data, so the biggest challenge that the companies today face is that they have a data available to them, but they might not be able to use that data for further analysis. Even if they start doing that analysis, around 40 to 50% of the time they just spend in cleaning up the data. However, that's not the case with Xero, because Xero gives you a standard data, and once you have the standard data, you are ready to go and deploy the or develop the dashboards, and calculate the KPIs that any business is interested in on a day-to-day basis for taking business decisions. So right now, I'll show you through one of the dashboards that we have created using the Xero data. And the best advantage, the best use case here is that this data or this dashboard takes the data from Xero, as well as some of the non-financial data sources can be also integrated at the same time, and have a correlation impact that can be analyzed and seen through these visuals. So as you right now see on the screen, you can have at a glance of a view, you can have daily cash flow statement for last 30 days, or you can have a closing balance for that month, or you can have cash and balance for last 30 days. Instead of going and opening the Excel files, browsing through tabs, just browsing through this dashboard, you can have all the high level information that would be helpful in taking any day-to-day business decision, or what is the cash out for that particular month. Also, the level of integration that we are talking about, Power BI and Xero, can be seen here, that if there is any pending notification of expense or unreconciled bank transactions waiting for business confirmation on Xero, that would be available on a dashboard with a link where you can just click on this link, and it would take you to the Xero dashboard or Xero portal, and you can just go and clean those notifications once these are successfully approved by the business. And just moving further, so once you have all the data available to you in front, in form of a dashboard, you can do a monthly analysis or a quarterly analysis, or do a comparison of month on month or year on year. And you can see, as you see right now on the screen, what was the revenue growth percent versus last month, or revenue this month, or even the major KPIs like outstanding receivables or overdue receivables. That takes a lot of time when a business is doing a consolidation by, say, for example, taking these balances from 3 or 4 different companies, integrating again all these data sets in Excel and coming up with a number takes couple of days, which is always available to this business using these dashboards, as Xero has automatically fetched these data from different companies, done the calculations in an automatic manner, and what you see right now on the screen is just the final number that higher management would be looking at the end of the day, and that too anytime, just by clicking the mobile app or opening a web link. So this is the kind of flexibility that we can add, integrating any BI tool with Xero, and the results, as you see right now on the screen, is quick and deep dive analysis available in form of dashboards and reports. And the best part is that these reports and dashboards can also be used in a traditional form by exporting them in, say, PowerPoint, or they can be shared over an email or exported as a PDF. So all these kind of flexibility is also available while using Power BI or any BI tool integrated with Xero. So that's the high level essence of integrating Xero data with any BI tool, what I wanted to walk you guys in this session. And now, as Rehan just mentioned, we'll open this session for Q&A, and we'll be more than happy to answer your queries around this.
Thank you very much, Bharat. Feel free to, just a reminder, can everyone just put their audios on mute? Now, if you have any questions, can you just type it into the chat box and we can start answering? Okay, so the first question we received is from Lameth. So, how easy is it for me to migrate my data from Excel to Xero? Okay, so that's a very good question. Now, if you're using Excel, if you're doing all of your accounting in Excel, effectively, a lot of the modules can be exported into Xero using CSV templates. So, for example, if you have invoices, you can create a CSV upload template, and then you can upload it into Xero. If you've got bills, you can do the same thing, and also manual journals as well. Now, obviously, the thing that it's not just a matter of uploading an Excel spreadsheet into Xero. You need to clean the data first. So obviously, we have experience of doing implementations for a number of clients. So the first thing you need to do is obviously make sure you put clean data into Xero. So you need to spend some time cleaning up your data in the first place. Once it's been cleaned, you can then export it into Xero using the templates required, and it's pretty much there. Now, I believe with BI, you can do the same thing as well. Is that right, Bharat? You can upload data using Excel templates?
Yeah, exactly. So we can have a portal setup on a public cloud or on a premise setup, depending upon the needs, where you can upload an Excel file, and Excel file can automatically fetch the data and push it to Power BI through direct forms or through batch mode. So that's what we can definitely look into, and is possible in a very easy and user-friendly manner.
Yeah, so I've kind of flipped it to obviously include a case study with Power BI. So for example, once you've uploaded your information into Xero and you're doing your accounting in Xero, or you're producing your P&L and balance sheet, let's say you had some non-financial information that you wanted to see on a dashboard. So let's say you have your P&L and balance sheet, but then you wanted to see things like, certain volumes you may have or the number of customers. In this example, you would upload it using an Excel template into Power BI, so then you can see your financial information alongside your non-financial information as well. We just received another one. For customs reports, do we have to procure any additional software apart from Xero? If yes, is there an option where it is available as a service so we don't have to procure licenses? Okay, so custom report, do you mean Xero reports or do you mean Power BI reports? So Xero, obviously, there's limited amount of customization you can do in reports. You can group certain account codes. You can add additional periods. You can restructure the format of it. But essentially, when we talk about customization, we talk about changing the reports completely based on the data that you've got. So for example, let's say you've got your P&L and balance sheet. You may want to create a report that has elements of the P&L and elements of the balance sheet, which you obviously can't do in Xero. This is where Power BI would come into play, and this is where you can create your custom reports. Now, the question also mentions, is it available as a service so you don't have to procure licenses? So obviously, you have to pay for the license for Xero, and you have to pay for the license for Power BI, but those licenses are not extremely expensive. You'd only pay for those licenses, and I believe, Barrett, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but with Power BI, once you've created a report, you can provide training so a user could create their own report. Is that correct?
Right. So, yes, you are correct that we have option of buying for the licenses for Xero as well as for Power BI. But also we can, as I just mentioned, that we can integrate with any other BI tool. So also we have options available where we can go for a model where a customer doesn't have to invest in licenses. We'll give them an environment which would be hosted on our cloud, and which is a shared environment in a secure manner, and without going for any additional licenses, we can have a subscription model where they can use that space, host their data, and generate those reports which are taking the data from the Xero and along with the non-financial data and giving them dashboards on their desktop or through a web link, depending upon their requirements. So we have that customizable options also available with us.
Yes, obviously, Citrus are quite flexible from that point of view, and they can help you. So I hope that answers the question. Any more questions? Okay, so we've got another question. Is it possible to link 365 Power BI with Xero? Office 365 Power BI with Xero. Barrett, I guess you're the best person to answer that question.
Yeah, exactly. So if in a Office 365, if you have a license of Power BI, as Office 365 comes with a lot of options. If yes, Power BI is available as subscription pack in O365, yes, we can use that licenses and connect it with Xero.
Okay.
But doing so, we have to understand how you are trying to integrate the data. Is it in a live manner, or are you trying to push data on a database? And then accordingly, we can give you the best possible solution. But the quick answer is yes, the possibility of linking is available. We just need to understand what type of licenses you are using.
Okay. I guess one of the things we want to stress to some of the audience is the fact that with Power BI, you effectively can have your own database where you can create your own table of data, which one of the sources could be Xero. And so obviously if you wanted historical data or data that was entered at a certain point and you wanted to bring that up on your reports, obviously that's where the database will come in. One of the ways where the database would come into play. I guess when we talk about live data and you're just pulling out Xero, I guess it's more, can I see what's in Xero right now using Power BI? So you have a number of options. It's more about what's more specific to you and what works for you. I've got another question. The questions are coming in now, so that's great. We was waiting for some of these questions for a little while. Next question is it possible to use Xero for multi-location and multi-currency enterprise? Yes, it is possible. You do have, yes, you can have multi-currency entities within Xero. So this license will be the premium license that you would purchase around $40 a month, and you can use as many currencies as you want within that license. For multi-locations, there's two things you can do. You can buy an additional license for each location depending on how complicated the accounting is. If the accounting isn't too complicated, you can do it within one license. You would use the tracking, which is cost centers, for that. Again, we can go into that in a little bit more detail on a later session. So one of the things I'd like is if there's any sessions you want us to cover, feel free to give us some suggestions and we'll try to cover that. Next question is, can we use data extracted from Xero for more advanced analytics like forecasting and future budget planning? So this is a really good question as well, which we haven't covered. So I'll give you as an accountant, I'll give you my opinions and my insights, and then Barrett can tell you his opinions and insights. So for example, let's say you, an easy example is cash flow forecasting or P&L forecasting or balance sheet forecasting. So Xero obviously has the ability to record the historical data and data that are actuals. It does have the ability to enter budgets, but you can only enter budgets via P&L and by account code. Now, where Power BI or any other reporting tool will come into play is the concept of having your own database. So what you'd effectively do is you'd have a database where you would enter your forecast scenarios, and it could be a balance sheet, it could be cash flow, it could be P&L. And then what you would do is pull in the data from Xero, and then you can do a comparison. So you can do, actual versus, you can have actual versus forecast. You can use the data from Xero as your starting point for the forecast. And I believe if you really want to get technical, you can possibly do some, not algorithms, but calculations within the database. So let's say, for example, your revenue in month one is $100,000. You may want to put in your forecast that the forecast for the next month is going to be 100,000 times 10%. And so then you factor in 10% in your forecast over the next few months by entering a rule like that. You obviously start making your calculations a little bit more sophisticated, but I think Barrett can then talk about the nuts and bolts in terms of how you would actually do that from a Power BI and database point of view.
Sure. Yes, Rian, you summarized it very well. So I'll just go a little technical. So how we can do forecasting is that since we have Xero data available to us, and we have captured that data in a form of a database, and assuming say we have this data for past 2 to 3 years, and we also have seen the trends in form of bank statements and the revenue, and also business has some variables in terms of revenue forecast, say of 5%, 10%. Using all these variables and defining into a statistical model, we can run different algorithms and do some regression and forecasting, and using tools such as say R or Python, bringing in that element, integrating with Xero and Power BI, and we can definitely generate some forecasting for the existing Xero reports, which can be really useful for businesses in doing their budget planning.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from an accountant's point of view, the most practical thing would probably be a cash flow forecast. So, for example, you would probably put your actuals for the month, which you would pull out, and then you can enter things like what are your planned payments over the next few months. What is your percentage of receivables that you would receive on a monthly basis based on the prior month's receivables balance? So I guess those kind of things you could factor in the algorithm. Now, obviously, bear in mind, the more complicated your database becomes, it costs a lot more to maintain, and so you need to make sure that you keep that into consideration. But this definitely can be done. It's more about what your requirements are, and how you're willing to put time and effort into the investment of those types of systems. So yeah, I also want to just re-emphasize also is that this solution is not a one-size-fits-all solution. BI is very much a custom-built solution. So you would effectively dictate how you want to see data, and the likes of Citrus would go about making that happen for you. So there are analytic softwares out there where it's very rigid in terms of what you can do. We are giving you the solution where you have more you have the control over how it's built and what it does. We've got another question that came through. So this question is, how long does Xero retain data in its system? Also, can we store extracted data outside in the custom reporting layer? So Xero will keep the data as long as you pay the subscription. So you can have as much data as you want. I'm not aware of any data caps. I've never come across any data caps in Xero in terms of how much data you put into the database. So that's from my experience, and obviously we're platinum partners. In terms of can we store extracted data outside in the custom reporting layer, I'll let Barrett answer that. He'll be more the expert from that point of view.
Sure. So the answer to this question is yes, we can store the extracted data. And how we do it, as I just talked a few minutes ago, using the APIs. So using the APIs, we are able to expose the Xero data and push it to a database, as I was talking about in the previous use case where we use SQL database. So it could be any kind of a database, and we can push that data, store that data into database, and on a month basis, we can keep adding data to existing database. And as we were talking about the previous question of forecasting, so once we have an exhaustive database available to us, we can use that existing data for further analysis and forecasting. So answer is yes, we can store the data and extract it from Xero.
Right. We've got 5 minutes remaining, so if there's any more questions you want to squeeze in quickly, we can answer them. We will be at the end of the webinar sending you an email just to thank you obviously for attending. We will obviously send you our contact details if you have any more questions in regards to Xero or Power BI. We'll also have the recordings of this webinar available for distribution as well. So we'll make sure of that. So yeah, any more questions? We've got 5 minutes remaining, and then we'll wrap it up. And yeah, please also give us some feedback in terms of the delivery, the format, technicals, anything that you could suggest to make this a little bit more easier and better. You can email us separately on that. Any more questions? Barrett, is there anything that you would want to wrap up, or is there, if there was one thing that you would want to convey to the audience, is there anything that you would want to just tell them, just so that they know, obviously more about BI, and what would be the main message that you would put across?
The main message that I can put across is that just again emphasizing on the fact that Xero is a really intelligent tool when it comes to doing the rule book accounting and giving the standard reports, which is helpful for various finance persons in any of the organization. But when it comes to using those financial reports or reading that financial reports by people who are taking business decisions, be it say at procurement or any other department, even at HR, sometimes it might not be that user friendly. And this is where we can bring the BI integration into the picture, where we can create easy to read dashboards, which gives insights and high level KPIs, which any business person is interested at the end of the day before taking any decision, be it at the procurement level, HR level, or even at a higher management level. So that's where I would say we as a Citrus can come and help Xero customers, existing or the new ones, and then can give them a really intelligent decision-making tool ability along with Xero. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. We've got 2 minutes remaining. I guess my final thought would be, cloud accounting has obviously it's not a new thing. It's been around for quite some time. But surprisingly, many businesses have still not adopted a lot of these cloud solutions for many reasons. Obviously, you've got data security, you've got, having a new system, those kind of things. We've just got another question come through. So we just had one more question, and then we'll wrap it up. Is there a number of users limited or unlimited on the premium plan? So I'm assuming that's for Xero. So for Xero, there's no limit of users. You can have as many users as you want. You only pay per entity. So every time you open a new license, you pay for that. So you can have as many licenses as you want. So as many users as you want. And then Barrett mentioned the fact that Citrus can actually help you with Power BI. They can create an environment, right? So Barrett, why don't you talk about how you can help customers, with Power BI and with the number of users.
Right. So if this question, if I can read it from a Power BI point of view, that if a Power BI premium plan has unlimited number of users, so yes, Power BI premium plan has unlimited number of users, but again, that is restricted by the data set.
Right,
so
okay.
That depends upon the core capacity of the premium plan that comes from Power BI. So there has a lot of combinations that we have to run and come up with a number that how many users can log into that server, which comes with the Power BI premium plan. So definitely we can get in touch with you, do the math, and get back to you in terms of number of licenses under Power BI premium plan that you or your organization have already available with you right now. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's really useful. All right, we're going to wrap it up now. Again, please give us some feedback. We will email you our contact details, and we'll have the webinar ready for the recorded webinar ready for distribution. Thank you very much for your time. And yeah, we're looking to do this quite frequently, so we'll probably have another session maybe in the next few months. If you have any suggestions on any topics you want us to cover that to do with Power BI or accounting, please feel free to let us know, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.